What if the ocean's most feared predators suddenly woke up with our kind of mind? Imagine a creature that can already sense the faint electricity of a heartbeat, navigate entire oceans by following Earth's magnetic field, and live longer than most human civilizations. Now, give that creature human intelligence, not just instinct, but memory, planning, strategy, and even culture. The sea would no longer belong only to nature. It would belong to thinkers that breathe water, move silently, and outlive empires. The question isn't if we could survive such a change, but whether we could even recognize the ocean anymore once it had citizens as intelligent as us. Sharks are not the mindless monsters old movies made them out to be. They already show the ability to learn, solve problems, and even demonstrate curiosity. They detect electric signals through specialized organs around their snouts, the ampullae of Lorenzini. They follow invisible magnetic lines across the planet as if guided by a natural GPS. Some species can live for centuries, remembering patterns and coastlines far beyond a human lifespan. Now, imagine giving this creature a brain like ours. Every sense it already has becomes more than just instinct. Electroreception becomes a kind of analysis, like reading invisible data in the water. Magnetoreception becomes conscious mapping. A great white wouldn't just chase fish, it would predict migrations, calculate energy budgets, and wait patiently at the perfect choke point, season after season. The hunter becomes a planner, and every coastline becomes a chapter in its mental atlas. With human-level intelligence, sharks would not remain solitary predators. They would begin to form societies. Today, they already signal each other with posture and movement, but with a more advanced mind, those signals could evolve into a structured language, not with spoken words like us, but through vibrations, electrosignals, and complex body gestures. Schools of sharks could coordinate hunts with chilling precision. Elders could pass on migration routes, hunting strategies, and stories of dangerous waters. Culture would grow in the ocean, built on shared memory and reinforced by lifespans long enough to preserve knowledge across centuries. Imagine Greenland sharks, already able to live over 300 years, serving as living libraries for entire civilizations. Knowledge would no longer vanish with a single generation. It would accumulate like coral reefs, layer upon layer. Their hunts would change completely. Instead of ambushing blindly, sharks could coordinate like wolves of the sea. One group could herd schools of fish into tight clusters, while others create pressure waves to confuse and scatter their prey. They could even design traps using the terrain. A canyon might be chosen as a natural funnel. A reef might be subtly modified by moving rocks or shells, turning it into a strategic ambush site. For humans swimming nearby, this would mean the end of random encounters. Every meeting would feel like a test, as if the ocean itself had decided when and where you were allowed to pass. Beaches might look calm, but under the surface, patrols would be watching. The coastline would stop being neutral ground and start being negotiated territory. Technology as we know it wouldn't be possible underwater. Fire doesn't burn in the sea, and metalwork can't thrive in salt water. But intelligence doesn't need fire to innovate. Sharks could use the ocean's physics instead. They might learn to stack stones to redirect currents, use kelp to conceal ambushes, or place conductive debris to create confusing electric fields. Imagine them creating false signatures that trick prey or even rival sharks. This isn't just science fiction. Many intelligent animals already use tools. Octopuses carry shells for protection. Dolphins use sponges to cover their snouts. Sharks with human intelligence would simply take that further, crafting environmental tools that shift the battlefield in their favor. Of course, humans wouldn't accept this passively. Ports would harden their defenses with sonar fences and electric barriers. Fishing fleets would deploy drones and automated patrols. Tourists would be warned away from certain beaches, not because of ordinary shark danger, but because entire regions of the sea were controlled by coordinated groups. International law would be forced to adapt. Do you treat an intelligent shark society as wildlife or as a sovereign nation? Maritime boundaries could collapse under the weight of negotiations with creatures that neither need passports nor care about flags. And yet, no matter how hard we tried to resist, the truth would spread. The ocean had gained new rulers. Ecology itself would shift. Intelligent predators don't just consume, they manage. Sharks could balance prey populations with long-term strategy. If too many grazers threatened a reef, sharks might increase pressure in that zone. If prey numbers were low, they could ease off. Entire ecosystems would come under the careful management of predators that understood patience. In some places, this might stabilize the ocean better than humans ever could. In others, overefficiency could erase species too quickly. The sea would become a chessboard, with every piece moved with intent. Humans would discover that conservation was no longer their decision alone. It had become a shared responsibility with neighbors who had a deeper understanding of currents, tides, and cycles. The long view would be their greatest strength. Humans think in decades. Sharks with intelligence could think in centuries. A Greenland shark born in the year 1800 might still be alive today, carrying memories of industrial whaling, oil spills, and changing migration routes. Add human intelligence, and that individual could guide its people with lessons drawn from centuries of first-hand history. Imagine leaders who not only remember past mistakes but personally lived through them. They could plan projects spanning multiple generations, guiding reefs, fisheries, and even alliances across timescales that make human politics look impatient. The ocean would stop being reactive. It would become deliberate. And how would we, as humans, cope? Fear would come first. No swimmer would enter the water lightly if the creatures below could outthink them. But over time, fear would give way to negotiation. Fishermen might discover that some areas are more bountiful when they respect shark agreements. Divers might notice that certain reefs remain untouched if they follow seasonal rules. Governments might begin signing literal treaties with underwater societies. Humanity would be forced to accept that intelligence had not remained our private gift. The ocean had developed its own civilization, and the price of ignoring it would be higher than we could afford. So, what would truly change if sharks had human intelligence? It wouldn't just be sharper hunts or scarier beaches. The real shift would be in time. They would think slower, deeper, and longer than us. They would measure victories not in single kills, but in stable food chains. They would record history not in books, but in migrations that repeat over centuries. They would teach patience in a way our short lifespans rarely allow. The scariest part is not the idea of a smarter predator. The scariest part is realizing that the ocean would finally have neighbors with minds as sharp as ours, senses beyond ours, and a patience we could never match. So the next time you stand at the shore and look at the horizon, ask yourself this: if there were thinkers beneath those waves, watching, planning, and remembering longer than we could ever dream, would we see them as enemies or as neighbors who simply own a different world? The ocean would no longer be empty. It would be aware. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this thought experiment, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more content that explores the fascinating what-ifs of our world. See you next time.